associated with ISF or India SME Forums in the last 5 years and help to reach out to market in a much more better way, help to even reorganize the way we do business. So we were one of the companies where in the HR and compliance space where we were invited, and the entire amount was paid by the government. So that was a wonderful thing, and the whole experience was very, very good. The entire team is fantastic. They're always available for helping you out. They just a WhatsApp message away or a call away. And personally, I have never found an issue in reaching out to them. And at the same time, once we are engaged, a lot of opportunities has come my way. So I think anyone who's joining India SME Forum needs to keep, if they are very much interested to expand their business, they're very much interested how to expand the business, how to get money, how to get business planning, how to do the sales planning. I think India SME Forum really does well.
I'm associated with India SME Forum and my experience with them is incredible. The whole team is working 24/7 dedicatedly to help entrepreneurs in the country, especially the women entrepreneurs who belong from underprivileged sections, who is having language barriers, who doesn't have the ease of access to avail benefits and opportunities which the government is providing. For entrepreneurs like us, those who are working on small scale, for which it is very difficult for us to understand the guidelines given by government, so that we can work wholeheartedly, we can have ease of access, we can have ease to finances, we can have ease to opportunities.
We got associated with India SME Forum in 2013. We got exposed to a lot of new business opportunities and as well as international opportunities. And the end-to-end experience has been phenomenal through India SME Forum. They have been a great host and working towards common goals of betterment of SMEs in India.
Thank you SME for sponsoring my Las Vegas trip, which proved to be a very productive, profitable and encouraged trip.
My career got a boom when I connected myself with SME Forum. Here, they made me aware of GEM and also told me about the various schemes given by the Ministry of MSME to all the women entrepreneurs. Not only this, they also enlightened me to market my product in a different way, giving it a new dimension. Thank you SME Forum for all your support and guidance. Much appreciated.
India Small and Medium Enterprises Forum had given me an opportunity to showcase Northeast India's handmade product internationally by sponsoring my visit. The networking opportunities were very helpful, connecting me with different business people and also to understand the international market. Right now we are in the process of developing a self-sustaining village model in Manipur, including a project to extract essential oil and to cultivate aromatic plants.
India SME Forum has helped me to participate in international market and explore business opportunities. And even it's helped me to claim the post of the exhibition from the Ministry of MSME. ISF के जरिए मैंने पहली बार ग्लोबल मार्केट को समझा और उसमें काम करने के सर्विस स्टैंडर्ड को जाना.
We are from biotech healthcare industry. Genetics has been part of the India SME Forum for the last 6-7 years. It has brought us a lot of value and learning, and as a small industry benefits from part of this forum, I know, as well as coming from the government of India.
India
Very good afternoon and namaskar. Welcoming all of you onto the Enterprise Matters, India's only show dedicated to MSMEs. My name is Pranav Dhunzarao and I am Executive Director of India SME Forum. Welcoming all of you to the all new episode of Enterprise Matters, India's SME Forum very own virtual show. Here we bring to you deliberations and discussions on the burning issues of entrepreneurs. We bring to you the discussions with the policymakers. We also bring to you discussions and successful stories of existing MSMEs which are role models. And in today's episode, we have we have one such a very successful entrepreneur with us. He is not only an entrepreneur, but he is a digital strategy consultant, a software architect, a marketing geek, angel investor, and a visionary. Can I please welcome Mr. Abhishek Rungta, a technology guy turned entrepreneur. In his teens, Abhishek founded INT, that is Indus Net Technologies, in the year 1997. It is a fully bootstrapped venture from one person to a family of 750 plus full-time professionals who work from India, the UK, USA, Canada, and Singapore. His expertise across technology and marketing gives him the unique ability to synergize systems with the business, ensuring a high success rate of innovation and change management initiatives. He is also the winner of India SME Forum's India SME 100 Awards of 2014. Welcome to you, sir, Mr. Rungta. Namaskar.
Namaskar, thank you.
Yeah. To moderate this session, we also have our very own Mr. Vinod Kumar, who is Honorable President of India SME Forum. He is also the trustee of India SME Forum and currently heading India and Middle East for SDRC International as managing partner and also advisory committee member of Ministry of MSME and member of the board of World Union of SMEs, San Marino. Welcome to you, sir, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Pranav, and welcome, Abhishek ji. It's such a pleasure to see you here.
Thank you, Vinod.
Uh, it's a pleasure to have you here and share your thoughts with our viewers today. We are looking forward to understanding viewers that how is it that Abhishek ji set up his business and how is it that he is now investing in other SMEs. So with that, I'd also like to talk about the fact that Abhishek is also a director and advisor at Energy Tech Ventures, and he serves as general partner at Cedars, which is a venture capital fund, which is led by successful first generation entrepreneurs from diverse business backgrounds who have run, created, exited sustainable enterprises in technology, hospitality, retail, and so on. So my first question to you, Abhishek ji, what was the vision behind your own company, Indus Net Technologies, and how have you built that company? Starting from you're based in Calcutta,
Yeah, that's right.
and today it is now in the UK, US, Canada, and all over the world.
That's right. Yeah. So Vinodji, again, frankly speaking, the day I started, I did not had any vision as such, right? It was I started the company more to earn some pocket money when I was in college, and kept doing that for around 3-4 years. And but one thing was very clear. I think one thing that was very clear, and I think everybody should have that what would be your area of focus, right? So my focus was very clear that it would be internet, and because for the first time when I saw internet and experienced it, I felt that it can connect people all over the world. That was way back in 96, 97, very early days of internet in India. And when you see something so powerful, you kind of have a full belief in that system, and that's exactly what happened with me. And I said, this is the area where I want to build my career. So initial days were not as glamorous as it sounds, right? So I was helping people learn about how to use internet. I would charge them few hundred rupees or 1,000 rupees as a training fee. At times, I would go and install internet connection in people's home, put modems and buy a connection from VSNL, connect it for them. I have done all that, and that kind of continued to keep me hooked on to internet till I found the first big opportunity. The first big opportunity I found was, when I went to see an exhibition, and somehow, I felt that I should not just see the exhibition, but I should exhibit there itself. And that was a very interesting incident where I walked up and said, I want to exhibit. And obviously, people end up laughing at you because, they don't expect you to come and walk to an exhibition and say that you want to exhibit.
Yes.
But that happens because, you can dare to say that because you don't know the outcome, and you have no fear because you don't care if people will laugh at you because you are ignorant. So I think ignorance has its own benefits at times, but I would not like to make it look like a very very nice thing to have. But yes, at times ignorance is bliss, right? And fortunately that gives you a lot of strength. And when I went and asked for and I made that, I approached someone, and this gentleman actually agreed. The first gentleman I approached, he agreed to give me a part of his stall. And he said, Abhishek, you can stand here, but you have to pay me 6,000 rupees, right? I did that. I got my first client from that exhibition. I had to hustle a lot because I was like no one. I had no logo. I had no brand. Nothing literally. So I was playing on my personal knowledge. I was trying to advise people in the best possible way, and I think some of them liked it. So I got my first order in that project. And from there, so one thing links to another, and I found a very interesting field there, because once I built the first website for a gentleman who came to that exhibition, I struggled to find a place where I can host it. The only hosting company in those days used to be BSNL, Videsh Sanchar Nigam Limited. So you have to go to them, and the process was like it was a very, very cumbersome process, right? And you don't want to go through that process. So I said that there must be a better way to do things. And next thing that I learned in this whole process was, if you go out and research day in and day out on any subject, I think you can master that subject within days, not even months, not even years. I think you can master the subject in days, right? So I researched out, studied day in and day out on internet, one link to another link. As we say, internet is a rabbit hole, right? So you keep going deep into it. And I figured out that hosting is not such a big taboo or a big subject as we make it out to be. And I learned the whole industry, how the industry functions, how the servers function, and the technical aspect of it. And then I started selling hosting because I felt that this is a huge gap in the market. Either you only have the big boys like VSNL offering it, who are like very very rigid in their approach, or nobody else, right? You have to go and pay someone in US, a cumbersome process to get a hosting server. So I started offering that, and within a year, since it was such a useful product, within a year I was the largest hosting provider in Eastern India. So I think what is important is to find a gap in the market, right? I think all the markets have gaps. Every market has so many gaps that a lot of times we don't even realize that. But the idea is to kind of keep spending time in that market, keep looking at things in a minute way, and keep finding the points where you get frustrated. And this was one of the biggest area where I got frustrated about hosting. And I figured out the solution to it by spending a lot of time, energy into it. And once I figured out the solution, I started going out and selling it at a mass scale. And as I said, very soon I became the largest hosting provider in Eastern India, almost commanding 85-90% market share. And that is how my hosting company got built. But another lesson that came to me very quickly was I went for my master's in UK. And I went in 1999 when .com was booming. And I came back in 2000 when the .com had gone down. It was a bust, right? So I lost the entire business that I literally built in a year's time. So I built the business for 3 years, and you can lose that business in 1 year. So you can lose market leadership in 1 year if you are not attentive to the changes in the market. And if you take your eyes off from the road, you are bound to lose your market domination at that point. So I lost almost everything in terms of the business that I built. And then I went back to kind of build a web design and development business, which was very ancillary and related business. And that kind of kept growing. Now that also is a funny situation. There's an interesting story behind it. So when I came back in 2000, as you all know, that the market was in very bad situation. IT was not hot. right? People would like to avoid IT people, say that you guys are only almost a failure because of the what happened.
Bust, yes.
So what happened at that point was, I was kind of struggling to get business in the market. But one thing kind of struck me one day is that, I understand that people may not have business for me in this market, but are it, is the same situation globally? Is the same or not? Right? So I said कि इंडिया में हो सकता है बिजनेस ना हो, बट ऐसा नहीं है कि यूएस में भी नहीं है, ऐसा नहीं है कि यूरोप में भी नहीं है, ऐसा नहीं है कि ऑस्ट्रेलिया में भी नहीं है, कहीं तो होगा. And then I started researching. Again went into the rabbit hole the way I did in my hosting business, and I started researching like crazy. 3 days, 4 days. I was I lost the track of time. I lost the track of food and sleep, and I figured out that there's a huge market for small businesses who want to go online, and that market itself was online. That market was not offline the way we deal to today, right? So people would be, socializing on forums, on discussion forums, on networking forums. So we have Facebook today, but in those days we used to have discussion forums in which people would go and discuss about various topics. And in every discussion forum, there would be a section which would be for commercial offers, right? So I started going there. I started engaging people on those forums. I started basically building a reputation that I know about websites, and then I started posting that I can build your website for for a certain price, right? I still remember. I think that price was $275, and I would turn around the website within 7 days. And if I fail, I will give you money back. This kind of an offering was not heard of from a Indian service provider in those days. So we were again creating a niche which nobody else was doing, right? So you want cheaper services, but you don't have a money back guarantee or a guarantee of service when you are dealing with someone outside US. And we kind of changed that. We said, no, we will have a guarantee of service if you are dealing with India, and we will guarantee that for you. Right? And if you cannot deliver, we'll return your money. And out of 10, maybe one project was not up to satisfaction of a client, and we used to refund the money. That got us a great branding, that got us a great reputation, that you are safe in these hands. And it started from one project to two project to seven project to 20 project. And at one point in time, in a single day, we got 40 projects in a single day. It was just like people are paying and the projects are just coming into your mailbox, right? So that was like how we scaled the initial days, right? But of course, those were the SMEs we were working for, very, very small micro businesses. I won't even call SMEs. They were, I would say, micro businesses, and we were working for them. And that gave us a lot of empathy about micro businesses. But we also realized over a period of time that micro businesses is great. But if you want to create a scalable business and a solid business, you need to go to enterprise. Right? And then we started working, and then we started kind of moving up the value chain. And today we are specialized in basically building software for banks, insurance companies, and pharma companies. So it has been a long journey. I think it has been a much longer journey than I anticipated. But since it was fun and it was not a planned journey, I think I enjoyed it a lot.
In fact, we've all today we're trying to celebrate India's emergence as the third largest ecosystem for startups globally after the US and China. According to imc42.com, we're talking about Indian startups which have raised more than $42 billion across 1,583 deals in 2021, which was more than the total funding raised by them in the last 3 years combined. And when we talk about, fintech, e-commerce, these are the companies which have gained first and second places, followed by software as a service companies. And we're talking about the fact that the country has received over $77 billion in startup funding between 2018 and 2021, the third quarter. So, we have this Indian startup ecosystem, which is not just growing, but it's now creating records. Today, you have a lot of SMEs, lot of startups, lot of viewers that we have. We have 1,624 viewers today, which are hooked onto this. And so we have all type of terms: minicon, sunicon, unicorn, decacorn, and so on and so forth. And so many terms like seed capital, bootstrapping, angel investor, evangelists, private equity, and so on and so forth. Apart from the Series A, B, C, crowdfunding, and so on and so forth. As an investor, when you look for an investment or when investing in a startup or a SME, What do you look for qualitatively and quantitatively?
So again, investing is a very different ball game, than building a business, right? So here you get on the other side of the seat, right? So you start judging companies, which is not the best thing to do. And I think the first thing that you have to, as an investor, you have to learn that to be humble, because whatever you judge may not be. Your judgment may not be correct most of the times, because someone else is building a great business and you are just trying to sit on a higher ground and trying to say that this business is good or it's not good.
Good, yes.
Yeah. So that is, I think, a challenge actually. But see again, so everybody creates a thesis, what we call that. How do we believe that this company is a good company for us, right? So we also created a thesis. I said that there are three primary pillars for me to judge if a business is good enough for me or not. Okay. And these were, like, very very key points that I cannot compromise on, right? If you compromise on these key points, then possibly you will end up doing a wrong transaction, or I would say a poor investment, right? So first of these things that I kind of put in my thesis was a great founder. Now, a great founder again is a very vague term. So, how do you define a great founder? So, for me, a great founder is a person who is able to see and believe in future, right? Very optimistic, see and believe in future, have a lot of energy, and has got past track record of execution either in his own business or as an employee, as an executive in some other business. Okay. And last but not the least, the person should have a excellent ability to sell his vision. Now, how do you check out if this guy has an excellent ability to sell his vision? Right? It is purely based on the kind of team he builds. So if I have nothing, and if I'm trying to come out in the market and I say that, please, come and work with me. So investment is a separate thing, right? Investment is someone has got $1 billion and you are asking $1 million from him, right? It's 0.1% of his wealth. It's easy to give. Now think about another person who is in a job. Can you convince him to come out of that job and join your dream, right? Because for him, his job is the entire earning, right? Literally. And if you can convince that senior guy, solid guy, amazing guy to come and join your team, right? Then you are showing ability to create sell your vision, right? So selling your vision to all the stakeholders. How are you selling your vision to your customers, to your employees, to your other investors? And that is why we also go to do a lot of ref check, right? So we speak to other people and try to understand what they feel about this guy, right? Does this guy look like a person who you can work with, right? So these are certain things that we try to understand. And very important part is the market founder fit. So is this person the right person to execute this project? Okay. And this is one place where we can falter many times. So for example, let's say if someone is trying to build an IT company, right? So we generally like to make sure that we are looking at a guy who has a deep understanding of IT. If he doesn't have an understanding of IT and he's saying that I am going to build an IT company, right? It doesn't make a lot of sense, to be honest, right? So I might say, you can always say that this guy can make an IT company and he can prove us wrong, but the probability that he can actually do that is generally low, right? And that is what we are very very careful about. That what this person has done, right? Has he been able? Can he actually build this? And so in brief, we look at his what are the skills that he possesses that enables him to be an extremely successful entrepreneur in this given industry and in solving this given problem. So this is the broad level idea here. The second concept that I would like to talk about here is the industry, the segment, the problem that we are trying to solve, right? So today, when we see around us, there are lots of things happening around us, and we may say, this is an interesting problem to solve. So, for example, you might say that the transport market is booming or travel market is booming because people now want to go out after COVID. This is not the way we look at it. The way I would look at it is that what is a market that would be at its helm 5 years or 10 years from now, right? Because these companies will need 5 to 10 years to peak. And what is the area that they are working in, right? If they are working in an area which will also peak in 5 to 10 years, then the timing is right for both. So the market is peaking and the company in that market both are peaking. And that is where you will get the maximum ROI. So I'll just give you an example. So I invested in an agri-tech company around 10 years back. Right? People were not even talking about agri-tech. Right? Now you see agri-tech is a very big word. It's a segment in itself. Right? So for example, 4 or 5 years back, I invested in space tech. Okay, and since then I have invested in at least 5, 6 companies in space tech industry. So even now people are starting to talk about space tech. 5 years back, if you say that I have invested in a space tech company, people would say, I mean, how would this company even exist? How can this company make money? What are the segments? So I think the most important thing that an investor need to do is keep reading, keep learning, and then apply that knowledge, learning, experience into predicting the future and see how far that future is. If you can see that and if you can predict that timing right to great extent, right, you will be able to hit on jackpots. And then, of course, the last thing that we look into in a company is that is this business exitable or not? Right? So there are a lot of companies that you see, they are made to as a lifestyle business, and there is nothing wrong about it. My own core business is a lifestyle business, right? So I run a software company, and it's a lifestyle business, and I'm absolutely happy about it. So lifestyle businesses are those businesses that do not scale at a 10x, 20x level in 5 years, right? So investor wants to put in money to get their 10x back. Because when an angel investor comes in, out of the 10 investments he makes, 7 of them will die. 3 of them will give him money back, right? So 1 or 2 of those investments will give him maybe 5x to 10x back, and 1 investment will give him maybe 30 to 40x, right? So an angel investor has to always look at a company which can give a massive multiple. So if the business is not exitable, is not investable, then you have to stay away from it. So you cannot invest in a slow growth business. You have to invest in a business which has a huge market size, a business where you can scale very fast, or the business model is such where you can scale very fast. And last but not the least, that there is opportunity to exit by selling to someone or by listing, and there is a demand for something like that in future. Right? So these are, I would say, 3 key points. One is great founder, right? The futuristic space, and the last but not the least is that it must be an exitable business eventually.
Excellent. In fact, you specifically talked about all the factors that you primarily look at. So when, for example, today, you've invested in various startups and various companies across, like you mentioned. What are the most interesting investments you made, and which have actually done really, really well, and which are the ones that have not sort of done well, but you've still taken an exit and said, I don't want to be involved in this, or it's money down the drain?
Okay. So see here, generally in angel investing, right, you don't get, it's a binary business, right? It's a 0 or 1. Either the company returns you a good multiple or it goes bust, right? There's nothing in between, because the company is trying to create in our terminology rocket ship, right? Either it takes off and crosses the stratosphere, or it crashes. So there is nothing in between, right? So it is either success or a failure. But again, we always say that the success or failure is of the business, not the entrepreneur. The entrepreneur is always sacrosanct. He's learning and he's trying his best, right? That respect of entrepreneur is very, very key in our circle, right? So some of the businesses that have done very well, one is called IIM Jobs. So IIM Jobs was a premium job portal, because Naukri.com became a very common job portal where everybody used to go, and it was crowded with people who were from all different backgrounds and institutes. So this gentleman Tarun comes in and he creates a job portal called IIM Jobs, which had only IIM candidates can put in a CV. Okay, so it kind of became a premium kind of a job portal, and then they started selling this job portal subscription to companies. Say that if you want run-of-the-mill candidates, you can go to A, B, and C portals. But if you want the most premium skills, so that your search time reduces, you can go to this portal. So I invested in this company, somewhere in 2012 or 13, and I got a nice exit in 2019, almost at a 10x valuation. So that was a milestone. Then, as I said, there was an agri-tech company that I invested in 2010, when agri-tech was not even a word. and these guys were trying to solve a problem, just an idea. There was no software, there was no product, there was no tool, nothing, no clients, just a beautiful idea that we can solve a problem of farmers by telling them, using our product, what is what kind of issue the crop might be having and how that can be fixed, and we can actually ensure that the farm produce can be better and healthier, and the farmer and can get more out of their farms, right? So the idea was very attractive because India being an agricultural driven economy to a great extent, at least for the BPL, there's a huge opportunity there, right? And we took a bet on this business. We liked the guys, we loved their passion, we understood that the market can be massive going forward, and eventually technology has to make an impact on agriculture, right? You cannot have a technology which does not make any impact on majority of the citizens in the country, and we took that plunge in this business. Almost after 10 and a half years, we made a beautiful exit with more than 75x return, and we are always grateful for the founder to take us through the whole journey. The company is still growing. They helped us get a secondary exit, and we are grateful to them. And I'm looking forward to the continuous growth of the company. So my relationship is still not over, right? I may have made my money, but the relationship is still there. My passion for their success is still there, and I'm kind of rooting for their success all the time. So in a way,
Excellent.
investing has also given me an opportunity to be involved in multiple businesses and kind of share the passion of the founder and live a more, I would say, a more optimistic life, a more optimistic and exciting life. So I think that is, I would say, as the biggest ROI of being an angel investor.
Excellent. One of the things that I come across very generally is that entrepreneurs are very wary about giving up their equity, and they prefer debt, and they say, we're going to look at debt and not equity. What are your views? Why should the entrepreneur give up a little bit of his equity in order to make his dream come true, if he actually is wanting his dream to come true?
Sure. So, see, my view is, first of all, every business is not an investable business, right? So, if your business is not an investable business, you will not get angel funding or VC funding. In that case, that debt is the only option that you have got. So, you don't have choice here anyways. Right?
Choice.
Now, let's think that you are trying to build a company which is going to grow very rapidly. You are very clear, and the path is very visible that the company can grow 10 to 20x in 5 years' time. Okay. Now, when you are looking at this kind of a company, you have two options, as you rightly said, debt and equity. Right? You need equity if you want to bring on board quality people to support in your mission. Number one, debt will not give you any skin in the game, because debt means I've given you money, I want my money back with interest. I have no other interest in your business. Equity means I only make money if you are successful, and if you achieve the 10x, 20x goal, then my money also becomes 20x. So if you want to bring good people on board, you need to go the equity way, right? If your company has got a very predictable business model where if I will put in 100 rupees, I will get 500 rupees out of the other side, I think there is no harm going debt model, right? Why? Because by debt you can reduce your dilution. Right? So it is not necessary that it is debt is good or equity is good. It is all about the situation. What is your unit economics? How predictable your unit economics is? If your unit economics is extremely predictable and you do not need any other value-added investor to come in, then you can absolutely go for debt. But if your unit economics is still being discovered, you are still exploring, you are still experimenting, I think then you should go for equity, because the debt money will go away and you have to keep servicing that debt. And you may not have a return, a guaranteed return that you can use to service the debt. Right? So in those cases where you are taking high risk bets, when you are experimenting with certain things, I think equity is the best way to go forward there.
Very correct. In fact, if you look at the huge rush of money that it seems that everybody is getting invested in, it isn't usually easy for fledgling startups or entrepreneurs that have great ideas to raise money. And most of the times what you find is such exercises are often driven by relationships or past experiences. And sometimes a startup founder may have to get dejected maybe 1,000 times to land up that one investor that he might finally put his money where his mouth is. And you
Absolutely.
often find, even for startup founders to get a meeting with a venture fund or an angel investor, it takes months. And what follows is a whole song and dance that has the founders trying to convince investors, and investors asking questions about the business. So do
Yeah.
you feel, what are the steps, what do you feel that are the steps that an aspiring investor should, or an aspiring entrepreneur that wants to have funding should look at when he's looking at, getting an investor on board? And what are the standard metrics that you feel an entrepreneur needs to keep a tight hook on to protect, his skin in the game?
Yeah. So kind of giving a disclaimer that this is only applicable to companies which are fundable. As I said, that is a big problem. A lot of SMEs are not fundable,
Sure.
and they should not get into that rat race or trap that they want funding. Okay. So companies which are fundable, if they have to start looking at how to make their company attractive enough for investors to come and invest, there are few things that you have to look at. Number one is that your company is absolutely clean from the beginning, right? No hanky panky, simple, clean business. Number one. Right? Number two that you must look at is does your business have enough scalability as an option? Can you scale a lot? Right. Number three is that do you have the right team to scale? Because investors don't invest in you as an individual; they invest in a team. So if you don't have a team and you are just trying to scale yourself and you are saying that you will scale, maybe you can scale, but investors will not be able to find enough trust that they can scale. Okay. Do you have all the skills in the team to scale? Okay. And last but not the least, in this game, acceleration is more important than velocity. This means your pace of growth is far more important than your growth. So if you are growing, that is not important. If you are growing rapidly, that is important. Okay. So if you are growing rapidly, that is important. And are you solving a big enough problem in a nice way, which gives you a unique edge? So these are some fundamental things that an investor will look into. That how are you going to sustain your competitive advantage, right? So you better do this exercise before you even start looking at investing, sorry, getting investors, and then obviously present yourself nicely. A lot of times, there are beautiful businesses, amazing businesses. They don't present themselves nicely. They don't talk about these key elements in a proper way, right? And then they don't highlight their strengths. They have strength, let's say, accelerated growth. They are solving a very big problem in a unique way, right? Are you solving a problem which is big enough, right? That is a big market. So, for example, if you are only solving a problem which is very small, right? So, let's say you are doing, very very specialized type of coffee, right? You can do that. It may get funded, it may not get funded because that whole market of that coffee business might be just 50 crores or 100 crores, right? In a 100 crore market, right? If you want to even put your company's valuation is 10 crores, why will someone come and invest? Because the upside is very difficult, right? You have to
Yes.
capture the entire market to give a 10x return, and you might not be able to capture even 20% of the market. So the upside here is only two times, right? And the downside is 100%, right? So this doesn't become a good investment option. So you have to think about that how you are able to present in reality. You cannot just present because you want to present. It has to be like that you are presenting a compelling investment story. And I think for good stories, investors are after you. You don't have to go after investors. If you can communicate it well and spread it into an ecosystem which is close to investors, right? So you have to understand that where investors are lurking and which kind of people they talk to, and you need to basically sound it off in that circle. If you have sounded it off in that circle, right, I think your story will reach ears of some good investors and they will automatically come to you. In my opinion, inbound investor interest is far better than outbound investor
Outcome.
interest. Yeah.
I agree. I completely agree. In fact, one of the things that we keep on talking about with the entrepreneurs is that, most of them are still unable to figure out whether they have a business which is investable. So, how does an entrepreneur? There's somebody actually here also. They've put in this question that how do they figure out whether their business is investable or not?
So, as I said, a business is investable if the market size is huge, you are solving the problem in a unique way, and third is that people are loving your product, so your cost of customer acquisition has come down. And last but not the least is that you have a business that can scale very fast. So I'll give you an example why a lot of IT service companies don't get investment. I run an IT service company, right? In an IT service company, if I have to scale the company, it's a linear scale company. This means if I have to add more revenue, I have to add more people. If I have to
Very
add
correct.
more people and I have to add more clients, then only my revenue will grow. So adding more people and more clients is not an exponential business. It doesn't happen automatically, right? It only happens by me bringing a sales team, they going out in the market, they making the pitches, and then they getting the clients. It only happens when my HR team goes out in the market, looks for hundreds of profiles, shortlist 10 profile, interviews 10 of them, selects one person, and then I have added one person in the game. So this means that this business is not hyper scalable. If it is not a
Sure.
hyper scalable business, it's very difficult to raise funding for that. And that is why you see most of the businesses which have been able to raise funding are technology enabled. Why technology enabled? Because technology gives you scale. Technology gives you automation. If you get automation, if you get scale, right, you are automatically becoming a fundable business.
Very correct. Very correct. Towards the fag end of our talk, a couple of questions that I wanted to ask you about the ecosystem that we are in. As
Yes.
an investor today, what do you think are the key changes that India needs to make to substantially boost investment in innovative Indian SMEs? Those that are at the brink of some or the other innovation, and they don't have the wherewithal to take it forward, but need the funds, also need the direction that an investor normally provides with his experience and so on. What do you think India needs in terms of this boosting this ecosystem?
So see, if I look at from a regulatory perspective, I think India needs to ease out its cash flow from India to outside India. I think that is a major roadblock in our growth. So our financial system has to improve many times over, and it has to become extremely flexible for us to allow growth of Indian companies in India. So a lot of great founders, they incorporate their company in US straight away. They incorporate their companies in Singapore. So the founder is in India, but the company is in Singapore or US. The IP sits there. The reason for it is that the fundraising process in India can be extremely cumbersome. Think about it. If I have to invest in a company which is outside India, it takes me three and a half months to take a permission, NOC, right, from RBI to invest in that company, right? And in the environment which is so fast, which is so crazy, right, you will miss that opportunity.
Sure.
The founder will not wait for your money to come in, right? And the founder will like to go into a place where you can quickly raise money, where you can quickly create funds. So I think this whole environment has to become much more agile. So startup is an agile world, but unfortunately, the investing ecosystem that has been created is not as agile as the
Agile.
startup world. So it has to align to each other. So there is a big gap there. So unless we solve this gap, I think a lot of founders will continue to go out of India and incorporate there. And again, we have to make it even more simple. Look, India has done massive progress. It has jumped from almost 120 or 130 position in ease of doing business index to almost 60, 65. I think it needs to get into 10, 12, or 20, or the top 20 in a real way with the impact on the ground. Right? People should feel that, incorporating business in India, raising money in India, and doing compliances in India is far simpler than doing all these three things in Singapore.
Sure.
We are see, in a globalized world, you are not competing with the neighbor or the other countries around you. You are competing with the best in the world, right? So today in this world, I have a opportunity to go and incorporate my company in Ireland, in Singapore, in Luxembourg, in US, and all of them are equal for me. Nobody cares because
Very
it's a
correct.
virtual digital world, right? So if India has to compete, India cannot say I'm competing with the next best to me. So if I am at 60th, I will compete with 57th or 58th country. No, you have to compete with the top.
Very
And
correct.
that is what I think. I mean, and I think the government, I must appreciate that the government is taking steps, but I think it has to accelerate and it has to be much more wider. It has to be much more transformative.
Very correct. Absolutely. In fact, before we wind up this session, this talk, I'd like you to tell us, for entrepreneurs that are here, which are the 4 or 5 things that you feel entrepreneurs need to do before they can be ready for this journey of finding investors or reaching out to investors or doing what should they do in their own enterprises?
I think the path is very simple now. The playbook is already out there in the market, right? So you got to find a seriously good problem, a big problem, a good problem to solve. You must find a unique and an interesting way to solve the problem that connects with the people who are facing this problem. You got to get a great team. You got to get a great communication which basically articulates the problem and your solution to it and shows that you are the best person out there in the world to solve this problem, right? And then of course you need to get good people around you to support you, to back you. They can be investors, they can be advisors, they can be your employees, they can be some of your early customers. And last but not the least, after all these things, you need to validate all these things. You just cannot put things to chances. You validate, validate, validate. And then once you are confident, I think you are in a great place to scale. In fact, you might already be scaling by that time.
I'm going to take a few questions from the audience here. This is Suma Yoga, and the question is, what is the kind of minimum investment one should look or pitch to investors?
So, Suma, typically it is said that if you are doing a pre-seed round, which is like you are just kind of taking the first money, right? This money should be sufficient to get you to the product market fit. So, the product market fit, the way I look at it, is a situation when your solution has hit a point of comfort to the consumer at such a level that they buy it automatically without much persuasion, and things start flying off the shelf. So think of it like this: that you have got a shelf in a bookstore, and a particular book is connecting with the audience that's coming to the bookstore, and that book is flying off, without any effort, without any salesman explaining why they should buy that book or that particular product, right? So that is product market fit. So your idea is that sufficient money that can take you to the product market fit, where you can build the product, show the product, test the product, and people are able to kind of relate to that and buy it out of, by themselves. So that is the amount of money. It will be different for different businesses. If you are making a very large consumer business, this money can be in a couple of $1 million, maybe even more. If you are doing a SaaS business for SME, it might be a very small amount because you can test it out with some SMEs here and there, and you can start growing the business from there on.
We have a question from Dilna. She asks, I would like to know how to bootstrap an app development venture effectively.
So, Dilna, if you are just looking to bootstrap a app development company, right, you should actually bootstrap, because for a service company, it's very difficult to raise venture money, right? So you need to get the clients, you need to get some developers, and you need to get started. A lot of times, it's very difficult to build a development team and afford that cost. So what you can do is you can start working with freelancers. You have to create your own process, your unique process, and you can make sure that you can get the work done in bits and bytes from the freelancers that you are working with. But you need to get the project. It will become very important for you, if you want to bootstrap this, that you are yourself technically sound. Because if you are not yourself technically sound, then even for a project manager, you have to look outside, and then things can go very, very bad. Yeah.
We have a question from KJ Singh. He says, we need some scaling help and need a more structured look to grow. How can you help us? That's a direct question. Yeah. So do you help other guys that are wanting to scale up?
Sure. So, Mr. Singh, again, it's a difficult question, because see, I do provide some help, in terms of advisory to some companies, but again, I am a little choosy. I want to work with companies which is in the area of my interest. I may not like to work with every company, though I appreciate and I respect each and every entrepreneur, because I think all of us are working and solving not only a big problem for the society, but also, we are trying to build a dream of our own, right? So each person who is working on a dream should be extremely respected. But I would only be able to advise people whom I can relate with, and the problem that they are solving, and if I can relate with the problem they are solving, and that's a small universe, compared to this whole world out there. Right?
We have a question from Priya. She says, what is the scope of AI and latest technologies in terms of getting funded? If you're working in AI and latest technologies, is it easier?
So yes, Priya. So see again, there are two types of investors. One who are not experienced. If they see the terminology like AI, they might jump onto it. But there are seasoned investors who really try to find what solution you are bringing, how you are solving a problem, and is it really solving a problem. So, for example, when a deal comes to me, I love to talk to the clients. I love to experience the product if it's a physical product. So I will order it, right? And once the good comes, I will use it, and then I will ask around that how does this look like? What do you feel about it, right? And then I will create my thesis that and is the product relatable or not? Once the product is relatable, then there are a lot of other things that you have to think about. Is the unit economics right or not? Is this product going to grow or not? Is there a virality built into it or not? Will people love to talk about it or not? Is the branding capability sufficiently good or not? So there are a lot of things out there. I don't think just by using the words like AI and using some latest technology buzzwords, I don't think you will get good investors.
This is the last question I'm going to take today. Samreen Khan says, what kind of funding would work best for education services? Kind of funding. I don't know what.
Friend and family, I don't think equity funding would be good. But once you reach a point and if you are showing massive scalability, you might be able to get venture fund. But if you are like an education service, which is basically providing classes or providing training or running a kind of a cohort-based training inside your office or in a physical space, it's very difficult to get venture funding. If you are doing it online and if you are able to show certain metrics which is useful, like what is the cost of acquiring a customer, how much revenue you can generate from a customer, what is the customer satisfaction ratio, what is the referral rate, all these factors will go into in any investor's number crunching for him to decide if this is an investable venture or not.
Very correct. In fact, thank you so much, Abhishek. It was a pleasure talking to you today. I am looking forward to the opportunity of having you on board for some of more of our mentoring sessions. There's millions of SMEs out there, most of them who do great work, but the problem is, most of them do not have the right directions. And if we can support a few of them with offering them the right direction, I think that will be a lifetime well spent. And at least in giving back something that we've got. So thank you very much. My personal thanks to you for coming on board.
Thank you, Vinod.
Back
Thank
to
you so
you.
much for having me. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you. Pranav, back to you.
Yeah, it was really a very insightful session today. And thank you so much for your time, Mr. Rungta, and also Mr. Vinod Kumar. I also thank all the viewers who attended this webinar today. And of course, we'll be back with a new session with a new successful entrepreneur soon with you on Enterprise Matter. So, till then, thank you so much. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Thank you. Bye-bye.